Fraser, thanks indeed for joining us. The Treasury faces a problem. 25 billion quid a year is raised through fuel duty, and if everyone suddenly buys an electric car, there's a £25 billion shaped black hole in the Chancellor's sums.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, this is all about a Chancellor that's drowning in her own tax and spend squalor, and ultimately is reaching out to pretty much anywhere to try and fill black holes that are created by the fact they can't control their MPs to bring down the benefits budget. But when we get to the motor industry and we think about the impact of this for an electric vehicle driver, an EV driver really saves huge amounts if they can access overnight charging. And your average kind of driver that drives a petrol or diesel car will pay about £600 a year in fuel duty. So £250 for your average EV driver based on 3 pence per mile. It isn't a big blow for EV drivers. It's very unhelpful. It's contradictory to what the government is saying. It smacks of a government in disarray. And it really is just another example of how they're clutching and grasping at things to try and kind of react to the events that are before them instead of having a planned, consistent industrial and business strategy, which is sadly lacking at the moment. So I don't think it's going to stop EV adoption. It will be a minor blip in the road, but I do think it is, contradictory, disorganised, and, just smacks of desperation.
Fraser, it doesn't even matter if you drive or what you drive. This will affect everybody. I mean, deliveries, small businesses. It's just going to be a nightmare again for the economy.
Well, the issue, I'm a small business owner, I have a number of businesses, and we're struggling to make ends meet at the moment. We've got to make decisions. We've just been hit again with a likely rise to £26,500 for the minimum wage. That's going to add a huge amount to bills. So the questions you ask yourself as a business owner is, are you actually going to employ that extra person? We've just actually put one on hold right now because of the speculation around what's going to happen to minimum wage. Combine that with the additional impact on the road tax that's going to come in with this 3 pence per mile, £250 per EV driver. It will impact everything. You put a charge on delivery vehicles, like you said, you put a charge on anybody that's utilising an electric vehicle. It's exactly the same as putting up minimum wage, because ultimately your person that drives the wagon to get the goods to the supermarket, it then drives up supermarket prices, the people that stack the shelves, all of these things where we're not going to impact working people, nonsense that we hear from this government, is absolutely driving up the cost to everybody, all because they will not make the difficult decisions on tax and spending. And, it's a very, very difficult country to be in business right now. This is just another thing that adds to the cost of living crisis, as they call it, which is being propagated by this government.
Yeah.
Worried about your privacy online, especially with the new digital ID debates and Online Safety Act in the news? Your mum was right. Some things really don't need sharing, especially with your internet provider, advertisers, or even the owner of that random pub Wi-Fi. All of them can see a lot more than you think. Unless, of course, you're using ExpressVPN. ExpressVPN is designed to help you reclaim control. It encrypts your online activity, making it much harder for Wi-Fi owners or third parties, whether that's your boss, landlord, or just someone at the airport, to watch what you are doing online. ExpressVPN has been independently audited 3 times, most recently by KPMG in 2025, who confirmed that ExpressVPN does not keep activity or connection logs. ExpressVPN's encryption is extremely tough, and cracking it would take enormous computing power and many years. With new tiered plans, you can protect up to 14 devices at once and manage passwords securely with ExpressVPN keys, plus enjoy greater identity protection features at higher tiers. Live chat support is available 24/7 and typically connects you with a real person in under a minute. If you're ready to try ExpressVPN right now, you can get a plan starting from just $3.49 a month if you purchase a 2-year subscription, which gives you up to 4 extra months for free. Click the link in the description to lock down your privacy and give hackers, trackers, and nosy parkers the boot. Protect your privacy now with ExpressVPN today.
Amanda, good to see you. Right, OK, so they encourage you to get out of your petrol/diesel car to get into an electric car because you're going to save the planet and it's cheaper, and then they start charging you more to use it. Do they really think we're that stupid?
I'm lost for words, to be honest. It's enormously disappointing. Everything that the industry has done to try to encourage motorists, educate motorists, implore motorists to move into EVs seems to be being undone here. And, you know, one thing when I first read this story that I was musing about was when EVs first came onto the market and everybody was saying, should we move into them or should we not? One of the big concerns was that they were more expensive to buy or to purchase outright, which they were. But this was offset by the cost of running them, which was cheaper. But one of the things that we were sort of sold on, if you like, was the fact that you weren't paying fuel duty because the revenue that the fuel duty would be generating was actually going to be offset against how much the NHS actually spend in things like respiratory problems that are specifically caused by air pollution. Now, this is the way it was sold to us in the first place. So what we seem to be doing now is undoing all of the good work. Never in my life have I seen so many stakeholders in the motoring industry so against a policy like this.
I mean, I'm just doing so from memory. I think we spend about £185 billion a year on the NHS. Fuel duty currently raises £25 billion a year. I'm not entirely convinced that more than an eighth of the entire NHS budget goes on respiratory problems every single year.
No, I was doing a little bit of research actually earlier on, and according to Public Health England, particulate matter is current spending for 2025 is that they estimate the NHS is receiving 1.4 billion, and nitrogen dioxide associated respiratory problems, 1.2 billion. Now that's set to go up to 4.5 and 3.8 by 2035. So you're absolutely right. You know, we're looking at potentially raising around just a little under 2 billion by the early 2030s. It just, they offset one another. So it's utter madness that they're putting the EV market, and quite frankly, everybody who's worked so hard to encourage people into electric vehicles. Obviously, we need a ground-up rethink of the way roads are taxed, obviously. That is indisputable. But to be doing it at this stage to EV owners, you know, we already have paid more to buy the cars. We already pay VAT on charging them when we're not charging them at home. You know, we're already paying quite considerably into the public purse. And you know, the new vehicle excise duty for EVs is going to be introduced as well, which is £195. So EV drivers are already making a contribution. I just think at this point in time, this is the wrong thing to be doing.
Isn't it the truth, though, Amanda, that it's always drivers that pay the price when the country needs more money? I mean, this sounds like a new version of the poll tax, but on drivers.
It is, but it's not just drivers. This is the thing that really gets on my nerves, because everybody, whether you drive or not, are going to be paying for this down the line.
Yes.
Because all of our goods and services come by vehicle. I was listening to an advert in the car earlier on. Amazon very proudly announcing that they're going to be doing many more deliveries with EVs. Yeah. Now that of course is going to be if then they're now being charged extra. That is going to be passed on to the consumer.
But just to put the other point, I drive a petrol car. I pay a ridiculous amount of tax. I think it's more than half the cost of every time I fill up is tax. Yep. Why should, and that's effectively a per mile tax that I pay for my car because it's a petrol car. Why shouldn't electric vehicles have the same?
Well, they should in some sense. And that's why I say a total ground up rethink of the way electric vehicles and generally cars are taxed needs to happen. But what you're saying now is that you're being taxed as an internal combustion engine driver. You're being taxed through the nose. And now so are EVs, and none of us are actually getting value or getting what we're paying, and that is the irritating thing.
Yeah, as always. Amanda Stretton, thank you very much. Let us know what you think about that one. Obviously, GBnews.com/your say